Hi, I'm Tal Yaniv. I'm an Israeli electronic musician working under the stage name Croptal. Recently I released my second album, Variations, and there's another video in which I break the album into tracks and explain about the music, the concept, and the production. Feel free to watch it because it gives perspective that is relevant or may be relevant for this video. Here I would like to focus mostly on promoting the album to various outlets. After I released the album, I used two main vessels to promote it. The first one was a standard social media PR. I used a UK-based PR agency, and honestly, most of my budget went towards this agency. They did a great job in placing the music on some playlist, pitching it, creating social media campaigns, which went very, very well. But these guys don't work with bloggers. They don't do traditional PR. And here I acted on my own, and I used three main services, SubmitHub, Groover, and Musosoup. And this is what I would like to discuss mostly in this video. So just to set some background, the budget allocation towards these two main vessels. So as you see, most of the budget and quite a significant amount went towards the social media PR, and about $500 went to these services, which I operated myself. And the allocation within these $500 went mostly to SubmitHub, and then a part of it to Musosoup and to Groover. And if you are planning such a campaign, you need to prepare ahead because there is a significant difference between those three services in terms of business model, and I will explain about it later. So let's see how these services work, what are my insights and the lessons that I learned that I think that are relevant to everyone throughout this process. I'll start with SubmitHub. SubmitHub and Groover are actually quite the same in terms of business model. You buy credits. In Groover, they are called groovies. And then you spend those credits in submitting your tracks to various outlets. Those can be playlist curators, bloggers, influencers, and some other types of outlets. So here you can see the information, the statistics about my latest album, and also about my previous album, and there's a difference, and I will explain a little bit about that. You can see that, for example, this track was submitted to 34 recipients, 30 responded, and 2 approved. Here the approval is a little bit better, 42 recipients, 37 responses, and 12 approved, etc., etc. You see similar statistics, but a little bit, I would say, less intuitive in Groover, and I will show Groover a little bit later. The process here in SubmitHub is quite straightforward. You submit a song, you either upload a new one or select a song that you have already submitted. You decide where you want to submit it, whether you want to choose the premium or the standard plan. The standard plan allows you to submit freely every day or two, I think, to a few curators. It's good for trying it out, but when you want to do a mass spray and pray, you will need to choose the premium plan. You're asked about how do you want to receive your feedback. If you have a thick skin, use the specific and honest, and you will receive honest responses here. Don't be afraid. This is music. Not everybody has the same taste. And the most important thing here is using the right genres from your music, and specifically for me, again, watch the other video. It's quite difficult to tag my music in a specific genre, especially this album, which is quite diverse in terms of genres. So for each track, I chose the genres that I thought were most relevant. You can choose up to 3 of them. Moods, which is a relatively new feature. I'm hitting next, and the next thing I'm going to see is the list of the outlets that I'm going to choose from for submitting my track. So whenever I choose such an outlet, I see how many credits will I spend for these specific outlets. I can filter the results. For example, I chose only bloggers and Spotify playlisters. I can also use other types of outlets. And this is where things, I think, start to be interesting. And this is also a good way to compare what I did in my first album and what I did here. So in my first album, Works, this was the title, Works 2020 until 2022, I allocated less budget and I paid less attention to the type of outlets that I submitted to. And the results, honestly, were poor. You can also attribute it, of course, to the music itself. It is a different type of music. I invested less in the production, in the concept, and maybe it also reflected here, to be honest. But this time I really spent a lot of time and effort to pick up the curators one by one, and hopefully to increase the chances of getting approved, and it actually proved well. So when you look at a specific curator, you want to check that this curator is relevant for your music. And by relevant, I mean it can be many things, but you want to take a look not only on the statistics, which are important, the statistics that they show here on SubmitHub. You also want to visit, for example, if it's a Spotify playlist curator, you want to see the playlists, you want to see the number of followers they have, you want to see the specific playlist that you are going to submit to, you want to see how many likes they have. This one has about 1,000, this one has 24,000. You want to see how many songs do they have in the playlist, because if there are many songs, let's say 1,000 songs, there can be sometimes thousands of songs, and only very few likes. There are very slim chances that even if you are approved, your song won't be played at all. This is one thing. And the second thing, even if you are approved and your song is played, not always it will move the needle of Spotify's algorithm. So you want to make sure that you choose the right playlists and the right curators to match your style, whatever it is. So I spent a lot of time on learning each of these curators, playlists, genres, songs, what artists do they present, how many listeners those artists have. For me, it was very important, and this is how I chose from this endless list of curators. When it comes to bloggers, I take a look at the blog itself. I see what language does it use, which other artists are reviewed in this blog. There is something which looks maybe less important, but I also note it, is take a look at this blog, for example. You see that it's not secured, which means it's HTTP instead of HTTPS. The non-secured issue is mostly for the blogger itself. It's mostly their problem, but it becomes my challenge because Google and other search engines prefer scanning secured websites over non-secured websites. So if you want to increase your SEO, your search engine optimization, you want to make sure that your music goes to secured websites, secured blogs, and in some cases, I preferred not to submit to non-secured blogs. So this is something to note. But again, see which artists are reviewed here, how they write about those artists, what language do they use. Make sure that you are in a good company if you are approved for this blog, the same way I did for Spotify playlists. So this is one very important insight that I had, which honestly dramatically increased my approval rate within SubmitHub. I exercised the same strategy also with Groover. Although the user interface is different, I did check each and every playlist curator, blogger, influencer to see whether they are a good match to my music, to my style, that I'm not just wasting my money, not being approved, or being approved but not being placed in the right place for me. About the user interface, as I said, SubmitHub is very informative. It gives a lot of numbers, statistics, insights. I really like their user interface. Groover is, I would say, more casual. You can interact with the various outlets, but I would say that the UI in SubmitHub, at least in my experience, and for me, the UI is slightly better. But the results, we'll talk about the results later, that there are differences, and the business model is quite the same. Now comes Musosoup, which is a totally different beast. Unlike the two others, in Musosoup, you upload your track, you place your track, and then the various outlets approach to you and give you offers. It's not that you cannot choose which outlets your track will be submitted to. It's the other way around. They come and see what's new and whether your music goes well with what they have to offer. And most of the offers here have two versions. So each offer you have either a free or a paid version. For example, in a specific offer, the free version would be something like, I will place your song on my Spotify playlist for 2 weeks, but if you pay me additional $3, first of all, it will be placed for 4 weeks, and I will also feature you in my Instagram story or reel. And these $3 are just to cover the extra expenses for this story or reel. So this is one example for a free versus non-free offer. All the offers have the free version. Some of them also, and most of them also have the paid one. And here is an example of such an offer. This one has a free Spotify playlist ad, and this one also includes a review. And there are two types of review here. You can also see that there's a nice chat feature here, which I really like in Musosoup. So the connection between you and the outlet is less formal, and you can actually interact with them, I think, better than the other two services. To my surprise, some playlist ads came from Musosoup without an offer. I just was notified that the specific curator just chose my track and added it to their playlist without offering me anything, which was a nice surprise for me. And this is not something that you will see in SubmitHub and in Groover. But the difference, or the main business difference between those three services is that while in SubmitHub and in Groover, you pre-allocate your money, your spend, before you start. You choose the right curators, bloggers, etc. You choose your budget, and that's it. And then you pray that someone will approve you. In Musosoup, you don't pre-allocate any money at all. Then the offer comes, and you need to decide which ones you accept and spend money on, and which ones are declined, or you just choose the free option. And it's different because you may, respond to all the offers and accept all paid offers, and end up in spending more money than you thought about, than you planned. So take also note of these. Now let's see the results. And I know that this is an objective issue because my album is probably different than yours, and my previous album is different than this one. But I think that there are things that can be learned from my results. So, as I said, the allocation of budget between services ended up with this chart. But the important thing for you to see is the approval rate, and here is where things start to be interesting. So, first of all, in Musosoup, there is no such thing as an approval rate. You get offers, and you decide whether to approve them or not. So it's not that you submit it and then you get some declines and some approvals. It's a different, as I said, it's a different beast. But within SubmitHub and Groover, you may see that SubmitHub has a significantly less approval rate, at least for me, than Groover. 15% versus 31%. This is approval rate, is not how the pie is cut. So this is one important thing. But if you break it down in terms of cost, how much I spent and what was the cost per approval or pay per playlist edition or blog review, etc. So if I allocated $100 and received 10 approvals, I obviously spent $10 per approval. And this is where things start to be very interesting, because in SubmitHub, it cost me $10 per approval, in Groover $12, and in Musosoup, where there is 100% approvals, but I got many playlist ads, blog reviews, etc. The actual cost per such a placement was significantly small, $2. And this is a very important insight. Another thing to note is the difference between my first album and this one, and I spent less money or less budget on promoting the first album, but the results are dramatically different. I got only one SubmitHub approval in my previous album. I got no Groover approval in my previous album, and as you saw, I got 15 and 31% in this one. In Musosoup, things went better. Even in my first album, I got a very good coverage in terms of mostly with blogs and media, social media influencers, less with playlists. But the overall experience with Musosoup for both albums was, I think, for me, much better. Another important statistic for me is how many blog reviews I received from each service. And here the numbers are also interesting. So with SubmitHub, I received 8 blog reviews, from Groover 2, and from Musosoup 12. Again, this is a win. Now, I cannot compare the quality of the bloggers. I think they are all relatively good. In either service, you won't find Pitchfork or Music Radar. These are premium bloggers. I think they don't work with these services. But you need to start with something. You need to show some traction. You need to build up your audience before you can approach these monsters. So honestly, I'm quite satisfied with this result. So these are my insights. And again, I really encourage you to see the other video which breaks down the album into tracks and explains about the music. There are also some useful links below this video, for example, links to those services that you can use and get maybe some discounts. There is a link to my Bandcamp where you can purchase the album if you liked it. Feel free to subscribe to my videos, see my other channels, and I hope you learned from this video. I would love to read your comments and to respond. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.